Welcome to the Honey Hunt, the internet's most passionate honey program, where we taste and learn and talk about the world's best honey. Today, we are going to do a taste test, and we are going to talk about Ames Farm honey. And so we're going to use Ames Farm as our comparison honey. I've used Ames Farm honey for years for flavored honeys and just my own table honey that I have around the house. You can get these giant buckets of it and even larger things of it on the Ames Farm website. And I've got a couple of Ames Farm products listed on the honeyhunt.com website as well in our shop. So Ames Farm from Watertown, Minnesota is going to be our benchmark today for good honey. And these are two honeys that I went to the store and I found the cheapest possible honey that I could find. And so here is honey A and here is honey B. And so I've been reading and I've come across a few things about fake honey. Honey that is either diluted with things like high fructose corn syrup or other sugars, or honey that just is completely manufactured and not real at all. So two ways that you can see if your honey is real or not that I've read about is to put it in water and see if it dissolves right away. If it dissolves right away, there typically is something in there that's more dilutable than honey. Honey is not going to dissolve right away on its own. It's going to take some stirring and that kind of thing. The other thing that I've read is that when you put real honey in water, it'll form like these honeycomb shapes in there, like it looks like blobs. And then fake honey would just be completely homogenized and just look like tinted water. So I poured some of honey A in this water here, and I poured some of honey B in this water here. Right away, you can see the color difference. This one's much lighter than this one here. And I'm looking in each one, and neither one of these honeys seems to be making those blobs. This one might be just a little bit. This one definitely not. Also, when I poured this honey in and poured the water in, and I poured this honey in and poured the water in, walked away to get a spoon, when I came back, this one was almost already completely dissolved without any stirring at all. This one still had the blobs of honey in it that I had just poured, and it definitely needed some stirring. So it did not just go ahead and dissolve on its own. A little bit it was, but it looked still like I had just dumped honey into water. It was still fully formed in there. So there's one thing. And then the other thing is we are going to taste this honey. So I'm going to go ahead and start with honey A and pour some of this, I think, on the back of this spoon. So it's coming out, it's pretty thin, pretty light in color. Let's get that back around. We're going to smear it on the inside of here, and then just going to stick that spoon there. And then we'll do the same thing with honey B. So very light, almost completely see-through. No crystallization, it's just very gooey and liquidy. So there's that. And then honey B, same thing. So we're just going to pour some of this on the back of the spoon. Darker, thicker for sure. And we're gonna just smear that on the inside of this glass. So again, once it gets on there, very light, very gooey, no crystallization at all. So that's honey B. And so then we're gonna just sit that there. Then I'm gonna take this honey. So this is from Sarah's Garden Market, which is my little honey shop. I do honey and jams and pears and that kind of thing. I've got grapevines and a pear tree on my property that I do some canning each year, and then I do the Ames Farm honey. So this is Ames Farm honey, repackaged, and then this is like hot honey, vanilla, orange flavoring honey, that kind of thing. So I'm just gonna take this on the back of the spoon, very light in color. I'm gonna show you my two honeys from Ames Farm this past year because they are different in color, which is interesting. So hardly any crystallization. The crystallization that's there is very see-through. So very light honey. So we're not comparing like a dark rich honey to these lighter honeys, we got a pretty good comparison here. So apples to apples as far as viscosity and color. So I'm gonna go ahead and taste this Honey A. And Honey A has also like congealed in a very strange way on the back of the spoon, much like you would think water would. It's lost its shape and is just kind of sucking in at the edges. So let's go ahead and taste Honey A. Oh, so interesting. I might think that's a candy of some kind. I don't know if I would recognize that as honey if I just tasted it along with other sweet things. It has its own flavor, and it's slightly bitter too. So it would taste good with peanut butter, it would taste good on toast, but just on its own, not the greatest flavor. Let's smell it. Probably should have done that first. There is a very, very slight vinegary smell to this. And it's pulling away at the sides of the glass. I don't know if you can see that or not. I put my hand up. That's probably worse. I don't know. It's pulling away from the sides. It's not just staying in the goopiness of its own honey, if that makes sense. I don't know how to describe what's happening. Okay, let's move on to Honey B. And this is staying in a blob, so hold that up. That's staying in a blob. It's together, it's not sucking in at the edges like water. Taste it. Very light, kind of a single note, just honey, just amber. And then it's gone. So very simple, extremely simple. I like the thickness of it. It stayed on my tongue like honey, like you would expect honey to and that kind of thing. So that would taste good. This would be a good universal honey. Not the best, not very complex, but just extremely simple, just honey and then nothing else. Let's smell it. Again, probably should have done that first. So this is kind of pulling away at the sides like water on the glass. And it just smells like honey. Just like how you would expect just like a honey sticker, scratch and sniff honey to smell. The flavor, the smell of honey. So just what you would expect. Nothing out of the ordinary. All right, and then this one, I'm gonna actually smell it first, like I want to. This one's not pulling away from its edges. It's staying in a honey goop of its own. I'm getting like a toasty, warm smell. Ambery right off the bat. And then honey, just a little more complex though. I would say a few more flavors present there. Taste it. Again, on the back of the spoon, it's not pulling away from the edges, it's staying all together in a goop. That toasty, warm, ambery. Oh, I really like that. It tastes like it's actually warm. It's very coating, but again, very simple, very light. A few other different flavors besides just the one honey flavor, like toasty, ambery, a little flowery, but then just kind of just a real consistent flavor of honey throughout that. So based on these findings in my super scientific back porch, I would say I am not so sure that Honey A is honey, or if it is, it may be watered down with something, even water. Again, with Honey B, closer, I would say, but just extremely simple. So maybe yes, it's honey, but maybe it's just, super mass produced or something, and it's extremely, just going to be very similar across the board. And then more complex, but yet still simple and lovely, and a nice coating, kind of warm feeling in the mouth from the Ames Farm. So I'll show you these two different jars. These are 6-pound jars from Ames Farm, and this has not been mixed with anything. It's been used the exact same way as the other one I'll show you, but the color is very light. And I want to say I got this one in the summertime or after spring. And then I'll show you this one, and I believe I got this one in the winter, so maybe November, December-y, and it's darker. I didn't really notice much flavor difference at all. Still very similar, but little bit darker. I'm gonna reach my hand in here and taste it a little bit. So I'm fairly certain that this plain honey is from this 6-pound jar. Going with that, I'm gonna go ahead and taste, and I'm gonna reuse this one because I don't care about this anymore. I just use this for my tea in the morning just to get the last of it out. And I'm just gonna go ahead and taste this. It's somewhat crystallized, but it's pretty uniform, which is good. Let's see if it's different. A little darker toasty. Still that toasty flavor, still that warmness. A little more butterscotch, I would say, a little more candy tasting. So it is slightly different. If they were not side by side, I don't know if I would know the difference, but the darker honey was slightly more toasty and slightly more ambery, but they both were delicious. So that is our taste test and our honey comparison and our fake honey testing and tasting some honeys from Ames Farm. Thanks for being here.